Welcome to the Investing Ahead podcast. I'm Tom Curran, co-CEO and founder of Curran Wealth Management. I'm very pleased that we have two very distinguished guests for this podcast. Len Tantillo is a graduate of the Rhode Island School of Design. Len is a licensed architect who gave that profession up, left it to pursue a career in the art of historical and marine painting. His work can be seen locally at the Albany Institute. His work has appeared internationally. He authored 4 books. You can see his work at collections at the Fenimore Art Museum, Minnesota Museum of Marine Art. He has also been commissioned to do a work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Pleased to have William Kennedy. Bill won the 1984 Pulitzer Prize for his 1983 novel Ironweed. It was adapted. It became a movie, Ironweed. It starred Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson. Bill's other works include Legs, Billy Phelan's Greatest Game, Roscoe, and Chango, Beads, and Two-Tone Shoes. He has been a newspaper man in his career, and while he was a newspaper man, he was also nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. So I'm very, very honored and pleased to have both these gentlemen with me. And I've been trying to think about some common ground, and I think the only common ground I can come up with in comparing myself to these two folks is that we're all old. We're all old. And the other common part of our lives is we all work. So each of us goes to work every day. And so I think there is a place for seniors. And, I think that in my work life, it's always been a great pleasure and a great learning experience to hear what other people in all occupations, all paths of life have accomplished and can talk about. So that's what we're going to be doing a little bit of today. Of course, our normal topic is investing ahead, money, what it means to people. And I think we'll touch a little bit on that here. But I think one thing where we don't have a kind of a commonality between among us is that money is a big part of my life. It's the way I've made my living. It's the way I've helped people in my life, and it's what my calling, so to speak, has been. Their passions are different. And one of the things I think I've learned over the years dealing and talking to people is that while money-related issues have not necessarily been a challenge for me, those things that I don't appreciate and probably can't see as well that Len and Bill Kennedy can see has been perhaps a little bit of an absence in my life. So we're going to try to combine what I know, what they know, and we'll get to this by first talking a little bit about, Bill, why don't you talk a little bit about how you've had to balance raising a family, keeping your career going, and somehow writing those great novels that you've put together over the years.
It was like a rope trick, like a cowboy jumping through the hoops. I never knew when the next hoop was going to make it or not, and whether I would have any money. I was making a union salary when I was working in a newspaper, and when I got to be an editor at a paper, I got a little more money, and when I sold some books, I got a little chunk of money. I mean, compared to what really big booksellers give to the major authors, millions and millions of dollars. But I never got anything close to that. It was It was in the low thousands, but that's all right. I mean, I never started out to get money. That was I knew what I wanted. I just wanted the work. I never wanted to be bored, and I never was.
Bill, could you talk a little bit about when I asked you the other day, well, when did you have time to write your novels, do your writing?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I wrote whenever I could. I used to work on my days off. I had 2 days off in the middle of the week when I was a reporter at the Times Union, and I'd work all day, in the living room, writing short stories. And I didn't make very much progress. I learned a lot. I learned, and I got a lot of rejections. But that's part of the game. It's how you learn what will go and what won't. And but then when I was in Miami, I mean, I didn't have days off. I had one day off in a weekend, and I thought I had to go to work. I had to write the novel, and I was writing a novel by that time. And I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and write until 7 or 7:30. And then get ready and have breakfast and go to work by 9 o'clock. And sometimes I'd get up at 6 and get ready and work and be asleep at the typewriter at 7 o'clock.
William, and you use the word work, but was it really work for you?
Well, it was the kind of work that, yes, it's work. It's definitely work.
But did you love it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
it was
never
a passion, I'll bet.
It was all I ever wanted to do is write fiction. And first I wanted to be a newspaper man, and I wanted to write as a newspaper man. I never wanted to be an editor, although I became an editor constantly. But because I had to become an editor. In college, they made me an editor, and I said, all right, well, I'll do it. And then from then on, I was a sports editor in the Army, and my first job in Glens Falls, and then in Puerto Rico, I was signed on as a reporter, and the first night we were going to work to put out the first edition of this new newspaper. The city editor left the city room and went to become what he had as a second job, which was a disc jockey. And he went off to talk on the radio when we were putting out our newspaper. And so somebody said, there's nobody moving the copy. And so I said, all right, I can move copy. So I moved in, and I took over as city editor that night, and then I wound up as managing editor in about a month.
Bill, could I interject something here? I want to say that we're talking about work, and I asked everyone if anyone would mind if I mentioned ages. So Bill is 97. He drove to the studio to do this.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I had my daughter drove me.
Oh, okay.
I could drive. I mean, I drive. I have a car and drive.
And when we're talking about the timing for this, how much time we had and schedules and all that, it's Bill's schedule who is taking him to yet another business-related event that has put us on a tighter schedule. So 97, we're talking about working, we're talking about the passion for the work he's done, and that, money was never really the motive for working. It was clearly something else. Now, I think that's really interesting to me. I don't know that you've told me something that I didn't know, because people who don't work because what they love to do is what they do, you're clearly an example of that. Now, Len and I, each of us, by the way, I've known these two gentlemen by name only up until maybe a year ago for Len, and less time than that. Well, I guess it was about a year ago when I met you two, Bill. But Len, you're working and you're producing and painting, and tell us a little bit about your life and what you do.
Well, I grew up in a four-corner grocery store just outside of New Paltz. The little town was called Ohioville. My dad owned the store. It was a mom and pop Italian grocery store. My dad, he not only sold produce and meats, he sold Italian cheese. And he used to buy provolone in bulk and age it in our basement. And my entire time in elementary school, I smelled like cheese. So that was,
I don't know if that's a good thing.
well, yeah, it was pretty hard socially, but I did get over it. And so I went to school in New Paltz. I went on to, I was not a very good student in high school. I wasn't academically oriented, and I was lucky enough to get into a good art school, and once I went to college, I realized, wow, this fits. This is really for me, and so I was in the School of Architecture. I was never really that interested in architecture. It's funny. I almost picked it because my father knew that I wanted to be an artist, but he didn't see how an artist could make a living. So he thought, well, you're going to have to do something that's a little bit more respectable than that. And so, and he was always thinking, if my son becomes an architect, every time I need some work done around here, he's going to be able to figure out how to do it. So he saw that as a practical thing. So when I was looking for schools, I knew I wasn't going to be heading into an engineering school, and I wound up in a great art school that also had architecture. And when I got out, I worked for a very short time for architects. I managed to get my license, and in the meantime, I'd been doing a lot of illustration work for the architectural projects. And when I finally did get my license, I went into a partnership with a friend of mine and realized that I wasn't going to be doing a lot of drawing. I was mostly designing people's garages and things like that. So I thought, this isn't going to work. So I left and became a freelance architectural illustrator for a while, and then eventually got into painting. And, when you mention the word work, I think that's really kind of fascinating, because I bet Bill thinks the same way about this word that I do. When I conjure the word work, I think of somebody who really has to work, a carpenter, or somebody who works in a factory somewhere. That's work. When I say that, when I talk about my work, I'm really talking about my art. I don't really think of it as a job. I think of it as a thing. The output is the work, but the whole point of it is something that is coming out of my spirit, the way I feel about mostly history. So, you want to know a little bit about money?
Well, not money
not
so
how
much,
much I have or anything.
No, money in the sense that I'm guessing when you get up in the morning, money is the last thing you think about.
It's I never worried about money. I don't know why. My family wasn't wealthy or anything, but my dad got by. I never really thought about it. And when I finally went off on my own, I had been married for a while. We had two small children, and I thought, okay, we've been getting by on about $250 a week. And I thought, if I can make $250 a week as a freelancer, we'll make it. And so if I was interviewed for a project, I would try to determine, is this 1 week's work or 2 weeks work or 3 weeks work? And it was $250 for the first week. So I priced it out that way. And for the longest time, I mean, I just scrounged around to get jobs like that. And there was only really one time when there was a gap where it was a little bit of trouble to kind of figure out how to make ends meet. But I would credit the tolerance of my wife for much of my career. Every time I made a decision to kind of move further and further into fine art, my wife Corliss was always willing to gamble on how it would work out. So it's been a great trip, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Let me ask this question, Len. You've said that money wasn't really something you thought much about. You got by, and that was important to you. Was consumerism or buying or keeping up something that was a challenge for you, or not?
Well, Tom, when we first had our kind of casual conversations about what we were going to do today, I was thinking it's one of the things that's different about you and I is goals. Our goals were quite different. My goal, I knew I had to get by financially to kind of keep it going. And that was the whole point, make enough money to keep doing this work, to stay solvent, to stay independent and be able to go on to the next project. But my goal was always to get to a higher level of art. It was always and that goal, that level, that mark, I continued to move that mark up. So if I got past a certain point, I can actually do this now. I can actually create an oil painting that looks like something. I moved the bar a little higher, and the levels were always set by artists that I admired. So as time went by, the artists became more and more challenging to try to meet that level. And you actually, the way I work, I've never attained the level because the level is always above where I am. And so when I look back at the things I've done, and I've told people this, I have never finished a painting in my whole career that I actually felt satisfied with. And I'm dubious of someone who whatever business they're in or whatever profession or art they're in, when they tell me that they are happy with their work, I'm dubious about how good they are at it.
Well, Bill, I want to ask you the same question too, but I want to respond to Len a little bit.
I have a very comparable answer to because we're always trying to finish the work, whatever it is that you're starting, whether it's a short story or a play or a movie script or a novel. Finish the work, get it done, and get it. And of course, you're trying to make it better than the last time. You think you are anyway,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure we always do. You may hit early on. Some writers write their masterpieces early on, like Fitzgerald, and go on to create great work in their later years, but it's not quite in the same ballpark with the early work. And anyway, but what I wanted to work. I can't wait to get to work because I that's what I would do. That's how I define myself. I define my whole world as the world of a novelist, and everything is built around that structure. I'm the family, the the income, wherever it comes from. In the old days, I was very, very poor. I told you, I used to go to work. I gave all the money I made, whatever it was, on a newspaper, and it wasn't much. I was always below the poverty level for years and years. But I used to go to work with a dime in my pocket. And so if I had an accident or something, I could make a phone call at least to somebody who had money. But I didn't have any money.
You know, it's funny. I don't know if this is the same for you, but this is a pattern that I've noticed on almost every single project that I engage in. I have a concept, and the concept seems to be, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good concept. And then I start to work. I stretch the canvas, I prepare it, I start to make some sketches, I start to put some paint on the canvas, and I'm thinking, this is it, Len. This is the masterpiece. This is the one you're going to, oh my God, TV, movies, the Louvre,
you just
maybe?
made two masterpieces here this afternoon.
But it's like this is it, and then you start climbing that mountain, of trying to get the piece done. And you're working and you're working and you're working and you're working, and you finally reach that tipping point when you're on the down slope. You're finishing up the book or you're finishing up the painting. And when I get on that down slope, I start to think, maybe this isn't the one. Maybe the sky doesn't look right, or this character looks wrong. And by the time I get to the end, I sometimes think, why did I start this project in the first place?
Well, whenever I go near a project that whatever it is that I'm working on, I edit it again. And no matter how many times I finish it, I edit it again. And I'm always finding something different. I've changed in the meantime, and it changes my attitude toward the work and toward what I've written.
Thank you for listening.